Francisco like told me to insist.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
In this Karnamaka basis, all glories to God and Prabhupada.
Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Guru Maharaj and Srila Prabhupada.
So it's just you and Shanti Mataji now, or there is anybody else on the call?
Govardhan Leela Mataji is going to join
Mataji. I'm on the call, Mataji.
Thank you for
Thank
joining.
you. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Guru Maharaj and Srila Prabhupada. I'm going to mute the phone. Okay, Mataji?
Okay, Mataji.
So I can listen. Thank you.
Yes. Hare Krishna. Okay, so we'll start with the prayers. Let's join. So, Magyanatinirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirayat Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtuki. Okay, so today we are reading verses 8 of Canto 3, Chapter 8. So, Shanti Mataji, would you like to read? Do you have a book? Okay. So,
I can read.
Okay, we can read. So, actually what we will do is that we will do today's reading in two parts. Text 18 through 21 would be one part, and then 22 to 27 would be one part, because those verses are related together. So what I was thinking is that we can read from 18 through 21 and then discuss, and then we'll read again from 22 to 27.
Okay. So I'll start with text 18.
Yeah.
Kaesho yoasva aham bhaja prishta etakuto vibha anyat apsu astihi adhyastat Iha kinjan naitar adhishtam yatra satanu bhavyam. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Lord Brahma, in his ignorance, contemplated, who am I that I am situated on the top of this lotus? Wherefrom has it sprouted? There must be something downwards, and that from which this lotus has grown must be within the waters. Purport. The subject matter of the speculation of Brahma in the beginning regarding the creation of the cosmic manifestation is still a subject matter for mental speculators. The most intelligent man is he who tries to find the cause of his personal existence and that of the whole cosmic creation, and thus tries to find the ultimate cause. If his attempt is properly executed with penances and perseverance, it is sure to be crowned with success. I'll read it again. If his attempt is properly executed with penances and perseverance, it is sure to be crowned with success. Text 19. Saitham udvikshya tad abjanala nadibhir antarchalam avishesha narvaga gatasta khara nala nala nabhim vichintvam stav ani datta jasaha jaha. Translation. Lord Brahma was contemplating, entered the water through the channel of the stem of the lotus. But in spite of entering the stem and going nearer to the navel of Vishnu, he could not trace out the root. Purport. By dint of one's personal endeavor, one may go nearer to the Lord, but without the Lord's mercy, one cannot reach the ultimate point. Such understanding of the Lord is possible only by devotional service, as confirmed in Bhagavad Gita. Bhaktya mam abhijananti yanan yaschasmi tatvatah. Text 20. Tamasya par viduratma sargam vichinvato abhut samaham stri nemi yo deha bhajam bhayam iryana parakshinoti ayur ajasya heti. Translation. O Vidura, while searching in that way about his existence, Brahma reached his ultimate time, which is the eternal wheel in the hand of Vishnu, and which generates fear in the mind of the living entity, like the fear of death. 21. Tato nivritto pratilabhya kama swadishnyam asadya punastadeva sanaijitasvasa nivritta chitta nyasidad aruddha samadhi yoga. Translation. Thereafter, being unable to achieve the desired destination, he retired from such searching and came back again to the top of the lotus. Thus, controlling all objectives, he concentrated his mind on the Supreme Lord. Purport. Samadhi involves concentrating the mind upon the supreme cause of all. Even if one is unaware of whether his actual nature is personal, impersonal, or localized, concentration of the mind on the Supreme is certainly a form of devotional service. To cease from personal sense endeavors and to concentrate on the Supreme cause is a sign of self-surrender. And when self-surrender is present, there is sure sign of devotional service. Each and every living entity needs to engage in devotional service to the Lord if he wishes to understand the ultimate cause of his existence.
Thank you. Okay. So we are hearing more about the journey of Lord Brahma. So in yesterday's class, we were hearing how the dissolution of the material universe happens and how Brahma takes birth from the lotus flower. So just going back from the starting of the chapter, Vidura is actually asking questions to Maitreya. Right in the previous chapter, he asked the questions, and now Maitreya is beginning to answer. So one of the questions that Vidura poses is to find out like what existed before we existed. Like what is it that was staying even before we came into being. So the reference that actually Maharaj, I went and heard Maharaj's class. So he was actually sharing that the answer to that question is also given in Bhagavad Gita, because Srimad Bhagavatam is actually an elaboration of Bhagavad Gita itself. So Krishna actually in the beginning of chapter 10, he says that unless like one gets to know from the very source of how the manifestation occurs, it is not possible for one to speculate and understand something that is beyond this material world. So these topics actually belong to the spiritual world. Therefore, it is possible to understand these subject matters only when they're coming from the source itself. Otherwise, with our mind and with our intelligence, it is not possible. That is why when in most of the places, Prabhupada says that we are supposed to follow a disciplic succession. And there are like 4 such disciplic successions which are considered bona fide. Now, the disciplic succession that Maitreya falls is in the disciplic succession of the 4 Kumaras. So let's list the 4 sampradayas. So first sampradaya is our Brahma Matva Gaudiya Sampradaya. Then the second one is Rudra Sampradaya, which is coming from Lord Shiva. Then we have Sri Sampradaya, which is coming from Lakshmi Devi. And then there is the Kumara Sampradaya that comes from the 4 Kumaras. So, but at the same time, like one may ask that we are in the Brahma Sampradaya, so why should we read any text that belongs to or that is coming from the Kumara Sampradaya? Now, the explanation that is given is that because all of these 4 sampradayas are bona fide, so we can actually hear from any of these sampradayas, and all of these sampradayas actually pertain to the glorification of the Lord directly. So that is the reason why the subject matter of hearing from Maitreya becomes important, because they are actually glorifying the Lord in a very like a direct way. So Maharaj lists and he says that Vidura is actually asking Maitreya these questions, and Maitreya actually heard from Pulasya. And Pulasya actually heard from Parashara Muni, and Parashara Muni in turn heard from Shankayana Muni, I think his name is Sankhyayana Muni. And then Sankhyayana Muni, he actually heard from the 4 Kumaras directly. So we heard, I think this was in Govardhan Leela Mataji's class, where it is described that these 4 Kumaras, they were actually residing in the in spiritual world, they, through the medium of Ganges, they come to the place where Lord Sankarsana resides. And these four Kumaras, they actually ask many questions to Sankarshan, for them to actually understand how the cosmic manifestation comes into being. Now, why is it that these questions are being asked like so many times? That Vidura is asking Maitreya, he wants to hear and understand the cosmic manifestation, how the evolution. And then the four Kumaras were asking. And then there are like so many other devotees who actually ask these same questions in the whole of Srimad Bhagavatam. Well, the explanation that Maharaj gives is that, like, when we are going to some place, let's say we are going to Hawaii or San Francisco, or so some place that's very beautiful, then we would like to know about that place. We'd like to know why we want to go to that place. What is it that is attracting us to go to that place? So there are always these advertisements, and there are always like all these billboards that we can read about, and so this is like one of such scriptures where we can actually get to know in very detail how the spiritual world is and how the material world is. So it is important for us to make that discrimination and then open our heart, so we can actually for ourselves understand that spiritual world is it's a very beautiful place. It's unlike the material world, and as spiritual beings, we can be happy only when we reside in the spiritual world. So for us to actually get that understanding, it is important for us to hear and ask questions like this. And the very first question in today's verse is actually Brahma is asking that question. And he's actually showing us through his example like how important it is to ask the very first Vedic aphorism, like Athato Brahma Jigyasa, like who am I? And then he says that that why is it that I'm actually situated on the top of this lotus? So he also wants to find out that where is it that this lotus is coming from. So he basically wants to find out the source of existence. So in the purport, Prabhupada says that Brahma, although like he's inquisitive and he wants to know, so he's asking the right questions. But when we look at the approach that he takes in the later verses, we see that it is more of a speculation approach that he takes. So he wants to find out based on his own strength and intelligence, and then he from the top of the lotus he descends to the water where the lotus sprouted from, and then he starts to go towards the base of the lotus flower. But only after many years of meditation that with his own capacity he cannot actually understand the Lord. It is possible only through the mercy of the Lord himself. And if Krishna so desires to disclose such a secret to Brahma, only then he can know. Now in Bhagavad Gita, when Arjuna wants to see the Virat Rupa and Arjuna wants to know the spiritual knowledge from chapter 9, Krishna chooses to disclose that knowledge to him. But there is a possibility that Krishna may choose to not disclose as well. But here, and it's completely, it's Krishna's will. like whether he wants to do this or whether he wants to do that. But here, again in Brahma's case, just like Arjuna, Krishna actually, he's very pleased by the austerities that Brahma performed, and he chooses to reveal that secret knowledge to Lord Brahma. And then actually in the later chapters, we will also see that Brahma is actually praying to Krishna to actually give him the empowerment to do the service that he has been assigned to do. So that will be the future chapter. So it is actually this in the first text itself. There is a line that says that if his attempt is properly executed with penances and perseverance, it is sure to be crowned with success. So here the formula for success is given, that penances, or like one has to take up austerities in order to please the Lord. And at the same time, one has to be very patient also, to because since everything is based on the mercy or the will of the Lord, so the Lord may choose to bless us whenever he feels that we are ready for the blessing. So it is important that we perform austerities, and the second point is that we be patient for the Lord to receive Lord's mercy. Now in text 19 is where Brahma, after contemplating, asking these questions for himself, he actually enters the water, and then he starts to go nearer to the navel of Vishnu. But only thing that he is able to find is that there is no origin to that stem which is sprouting, or which is, you can say, sprouting from the navel of Mahavishnu. So it is described here that unless one is a devotee of the Lord, that is bhaktya mam abhijanati. So unless one becomes a devotee of the Lord and he surrenders unto the lotus feet of the Lord, it is only then that the spiritual knowledge can be disclosed to him. So that's the purport that Prabhupada gives here. And moving forward, Vidura, he says, Maitreya is telling Vidura that in such contemplation, many yuga cycles had passed. And so many yuga cycles had passed that Brahma could actually understand that there is no use. It's basically a waste of time for me to keep going like this and trying to find the source of this lotus flower and the source from where I came from. So what he does is that he having understood that he, with his own endeavor, he cannot find results, he comes back to the top of the lotus, and then he concentrates his mind on the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord. So Prabhupada here, he's actually sharing the definition of samadhi, and then he says that, so there are these three processes, which is the personal, impersonal, and the localized. So the personal form is the Bhagavan feature of the Lord, the impersonal is the Brahman feature of the Lord, and the localized is the Paramatma feature of the Lord. So in all of these, because all of these are actually spiritual processes, so although topmost being the personal or the Bhagavan feature, realizing the Bhagavan feature itself, but for one to actually come to a spiritual realization, one has to concentrate their mind on one of these three aspects. And then he actually very beautifully he describes that to cease from personal endeavors and to concentrate on the supreme cause is a sign of self-surrender. And when self-surrender is present, that is a sure sign of devotional service. Like if we see even in Bhagavad Gita, that's exactly where Arjun begins. So he says that now I'm a soul surrendered unto you, please instruct me. That's what Arjun tells Krishna. So if we have to actually hear the instructions from Krishna or the representatives of Krishna, that is our spiritual master, it is very important that we have this self-surrender. We need to feel dependent on the wisdom that we are actually receiving from a higher authority. Now, like if we look through, it is very easy these days that people actually go to the computer, laptop, and Google, and like so many of these softwares that people have now to find answers, like Wikipedia and like so many other things. But how much of it is actually true? We need to ask that question for ourselves even before we go to that source. So it is said that we are hearing a class from Prabhupada, and Prabhupada actually says that out of the 8,400,000 species, there are 9 million varieties of aquatics. And then he says that the exact figures are given in the Vedas. Now, if science wants to go and if science wants to do its experiments and try to find out these figures, it is not possible to actually find out these figures because the variety is so huge. But with the advancement of technology, slowly scientists are actually moving towards or moving closer to the figures that Vedas have actually given. Therefore, it is important for us to actually understand that why should one waste time in performing these experiments when the entire knowledge is actually given in the Vedas. So if we actually surrender and if we accept the authority of the Vedas, then our life becomes very easy. Like we don't have to waste so much time. Like here in Brahma, in the case of Brahma, Brahma's lifespan is 4 yuga cycles multiplied by 1,000 into 100 years. So 4 yuga cycles multiplied by 1,000 is 1 day of Brahma, and he lives for 100 such days, which is so Brahma had like so much time, but still he actually understood that just by his own endeavor he cannot reach the conclusive truth of understanding the absolute. So he, in this last verse, he's concentrating his mind on Krishna, and he's taking full shelter to understand how the knowledge about himself and how the lotus flower comes into being. So I'll read from 22 to 27 and then we discuss. So this is text 22. Kalena saja purusha yusavi pravritta yogena viruddha bodha swayam tad antar hridaye abhatam apasyata pasyata yana purvam. Translation. At the end of Brahma's 100 years, when his meditation was complete, he developed the required knowledge, and as a result, he could see in his heart the Supreme within himself, whom he could not see before with the greatest endeavors. Purport. The Supreme Lord can be experienced only through the process of devotional service and not by one's personal endeavor in mental speculation. The age of Brahma is calculated in terms of Divya years, which are distinct from the solar years of human beings. The Divya years are calculated in Bhagavad Gita, Sahasra Yuga Paryantam Ahar Yad Brahmano Vidu. Brahma's one day is equal to 1000 times the aggregate of the 4 yugas, calculated to be, I don't know, like this is 4,300,000 years. On that basis, Brahma meditated for 100 years before he could understand the supreme cause of all causes, and then he wrote the Brahma Samhita, which is approved and recognized by Lord Chaitanya, and in which he sings Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami. One has to wait for the mercy of the Lord before one can either render service unto him or know him as he is. X23. Mrinala Gaura Yatha Sesha Bhoga Paryanka Ekam Purusham Tayanam Fanatta Patra Yuta Mruda Ratna Vyobhirhata Dvanta Yuganta Toye. Translation. Brahma could see that on the water there was a gigantic lotus-like white bedstead, the body of Anantasesh, on which the personality of Godhead was lying alone. The whole atmosphere was illuminated in the rays of the jewels bedecking the hood of Seshanag, and that illumination dissipated all the darkness of those regions. 24. Preksham Shipantam Harito Palendra Sandhya Branivir Uru Rukmar Mudana Ratnodadha Rausadhi Saumana Manasya Vano Srajo Venu Brujangari Pangra. Translation. The luster of the transcendental body of the Lord marked the beauty of the coral mountain. The coral mountain is very beautifully dressed by the evening sky, but the yellow dress of the Lord marked its beauty. There is gold on the summit of the mountain, but the Lord's helmet with its jewels marked it. The mountains, waterfalls, herbs, etc., with a panorama of flowers, seem like garlands, but the Lord's gigantic body and his hands and legs, decorated with jewels, pearls, tulsi leaves, and flower garlands, mark the scene of a mountain. Purport. The panoramic beauty of nature, which strikes one with wonder, may be taken as a perverted reflection of the transcendental body of the Lord. One who is therefore attracted by the beauty of the Lord is no longer attracted by the beauty of material nature. Although he did not minimize its beauty. In Bhagavad Gita 259, it is described that one who is attracted by Param, the Supreme, is no longer attracted by ancient inferiors. 25. Ayamato Vishtara Swamana Dehena Lokatraya Sangrahina Vichitra Divya Bharana Smu Katsu Khanam Krita Shriya Parishta Desha Deham. Translation. His transcendental body, unlimited in length and breadth, occupied the three planetary systems, upper, middle, and lower. His body was self-illuminated by unparalleled dress and variegatedness and was properly ornamented. Purport. The length and breadth of the transcendental body of the Supreme Personality of Godhead could not be measured by his own measurement because he is all pervading throughout the complete cosmic manifestation. The beauty of material nature is due to his personal beauty, yet he is always magnificently dressed and ornamented to prove his transcendental variegatedness, which is so important in the advancement of spiritual knowledge. 26. Pumsam swakamaya vivikta margair bhyar archatam kama dugangri padmam prasadayantam kripaya nade nakhindu mayukya bhinnan guli charu patram. Translation. The Lord showed his lotus feet by raising them. His lotus feet are a source of all awards achieved by devotional service, free from material contamination. Such awards are for those who worship him in pure devotion. The splendor of the transcendental rays from his moon-like toenails and fingernails appeared like the petals of a flower. Purport. The Lord fulfills the desire of everyone just as one desires. Pure devotees are interested in achieving the transcendental service of the Lord, which is non-different from him. Therefore, the Lord is the only desire for pure devotees, and devotional service is only spotless process for achieving his favor. Srila Rupa Goswami says in his Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1.1.11 that pure devotional service is Jnana Karmadi Anavritam. Pure devotional service is without any tinge of speculative knowledge and furtive activities. Such devotional service is able to award the pure devotee the highest result, namely direct association with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Krishna. According to the Gopala Tapani Upanishad, the Lord showed one of the many thousands of petals of his lotus feet. It is said, Brahmano Swa Anavritam Me Dhyata Stuti Parar Dante. So, Abhyuta Gopavesha Me Purasyat Avirbhabuva. After penetrating for millions of years, Lord Brahma could understand the transcendental form of Lord as Sri Krishna in the dress of a cowherd boy. And thus he recorded his experience in Brahma Samhita in the famous prayer Govindam Adipurusham Samaham Chayami. 27. Mukhena Lokani Hara Smitena Parishpurat Kundala Manditena Sona Yetena Dhara Bimba Bhasha Pratyar Yantum Sunanena Subriva. Translation. He also acknowledged the service of the devotees and vanquished their distress by his beautiful smile. The reflection of his face, decorated with earrings, were so pleasing because it dazzled with the rays from his lips and the beauty of his nose and eyebrows. Purport. Devotional service to the Lord is very much obliging to him. There are many transcendentalists in different fields of spiritual activities, but devotional service to the Lord is unique. Devotees do not ask anything from the Lord in exchange for their service. Even the most desirable liberation is refused by devotees, although offered by Lord. Thus, the Lord becomes a kind of a debtor to the devotees, and he can only try to repay the devotees' service with his everlasting enchanting smile. The devotees are ever satisfied by the smiling face of the Lord, and they become enlivened. And by seeing the devotees so enlivened, the Lord himself is further satisfied. So there is a continuous transcendental competition between the Lord and his devotees by such reciprocation of service and acknowledgement. Okay. So we further hear that after Lord Brahma fixed his mind in the service of the Lord, he is actually able to see the Lord, which he was not able to see earlier. And it is said that, and he starts to describe his realization, like what did he see in his meditation. So actually in the first canto, 7th chapter, actually we hear something very similar. Veda Vyasadeva, he's actually meditating upon the Lord on the instruction of Narada Muni, and then eventually he describes his realization of what he actually saw the Lord as. And here we are hearing that Brahma is actually describing the very beautiful description of the Lord himself. So he says that the personality of Godhead was lying alone on the body of Seshanag, and the hoods of the Seshanag were so bedecked with jewels that their illumination actually illuminated all of the three worlds, which was actually in darkness at that time. And then he says that he's actually giving us an analogy of the Coral Mountain, and he's actually describing these different parts of the mountain, how they can be compared parts of the body of the Supreme Lord. And Prabhupada says that actually the beauty of nature that we actually see is only a perverted reflection of the beautiful transcendental body of the Lord. And further he says that he explains that he saw the body of the Lord was unlimited in its length and breadth, and it occupied the upper, the middle, and the lower planetary systems. And the body of the Lord was self-illuminated. Actually, even in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna actually says that the nature of the spiritual world is that it is always illuminated. So they don't need a sun, a moon, or electricity. So it's because of the illumination that is coming from the body of the Lord himself. And then he says that the Lord actually gave darshan of his lotus feet to Brahma. Now let's see how qualified Brahma is, that he actually saw the lotus feet of the Lord. And it is said that Prabhupada says that just by achieving the lotus feet taking the shelter of the lotus feet of Krishna, one is awarded like so many awards that actually bring one to pure devotion and remove the contamination of material sense enjoyment from their heart. So that is what happens. The heart becomes purified by giving up the sense gratification, and at the same time it is filled with the enchanting, beautiful smile of the Lord. That's the next verse, where it says that he also acknowledged the service of the devotees and vanquished their distress by his beautiful smile. So it speaks about the fact that the devotees in pure devotion, they do not actually aspire for anything except for the lotus feet of the Lord. And in reciprocation to the service that the devotee renders to Krishna without any expectation, Krishna more like becomes a debtor to the devotee. And then just by seeing how Krishna is reciprocating, the devotion of the devotee increases. And by seeing the devotion increasing in the devotee, Krishna reciprocates more. So in such a way, there is always a competition between the devotee and Krishna himself. Generally, actually, we hear such description for the gopis of Vrindavan, but here in this purport, the Prabhupada is actually, of course, yeah, he speaks about pure devotees and like who can be a better pure devotee than the gopis of Vrindavan. So what I thought is that there is actually a little bit of description from Unveiling the Lotus Feet that actually has a few commentaries from Rupa Goswami. So I just thought that I can quickly read and then we can summarize or we can look for more discussion. So I will read from text 17. So it says, neither Brahma nor the total past, present, or future scientists can fully understand the complexity of creation. Srila Prabhupada's comment to text 17 is authoritative and to the point. No one can know the mystery of creation and cosmic manifestation simply by mental speculation. The human being is so limited in his capacity that without the help of the Supreme, he can hardly understand the mystery of the will of the Lord in terms of creation, continuation, and destruction. Trying again to understand, but by different methods, Brahma sat with focused intelligence and meditated on the Supreme Lord, the ultimate cause of everything. Brahma's meditation ultimately brought him success because he renounced his own attempt to understand and instead surrendered himself in devotional service. Prabhupada's comment in text 19, by dint of one's personal endeavor, may go closer to the Lord, but without the Lord's mercy, one cannot reach the ultimate point. Such understanding of the Lord is possible only by devotional service as confirmed in Bhagavad Gita. Bhaktya mam abhijanati yavan yasyasmi tattvatah. Two purports later he writes, to cease from personal sense enjoyment and to concentrate on the supreme cause is a sign of self-surrender, and when self-surrender is present, that is a sign of devotional service. So this is from text 22 onwards. This is a separate section that reads, Brahma performs austerities and sees the Lord. In due course, the self-born Brahma, having engaged in meditation for 100 years, developed the intelligence to automatically see in his own heart that person he had been unable to see despite great endeavor. Brahma saw the illustrious and beautiful Lord who was lying like a mountain on green coral on Seshanag. He was helmeted, bejeweled, and fantastically beautiful with his decorations of tulsi leaves and flower garlands. Pleased with Brahma, the merciful Lord smiled and raised his lotus feet, which offer pure devotional service. Brahma thus concluded that the Lord he was seeing was Hari, the personality of Godhead, who is protected by his own Sudarshan Chakra. Srila Prabhupada describes this scene further in the purport to text 26. According to Gopal Tapani Upanishad, the Lord showered one of the many thousands of petals of his lotus feet. It is said, then there is a verse, and then he says, Lord Brahma could understand the transcendental form of the Lord as Shri Krishna in the dress of a cowherd boy, and thus he recorded his experience in Brahma Samhita. So basically the prayers of Lord Brahma are actually his realizations that he puts as Brahma Samhita. And then he says, by Lord's grace, Brahma simultaneously saw and knew his own source as well as the immediate cause of creation, the navel of Vishnu, from which the lotus flower on which he sat had grown. Brahma immediately understood the waters and the winds that had caused devastation, as well as the vast universal sky. Empowered by Krishna's creative potency, mode of passion, and desiring to create, Brahma began to pray, and then starts the next chapter. So this kind of also gave a summary of the verses that I think will be coming tomorrow. So I'm going to end here and see if there is any discussion. Actually, they're very simple, like straightforward verses. Actually, some of this, the creation, at least this part we know. Thank you, Premarasa Mataji.
Thank you very much, Premarasa Mataji, for your beautiful class. I never get tired of hearing about the cosmic manifestation, and you know that, and you know that, just can't even imagine what, you know, all this space. I get myself all worked up over this, that the Lord is lying on the causal ocean and all these different things. I just can't even imagine. And it says right in the text, nobody, not even Lord Brahma can understand it. So, I mean, how can I possibly? Every time I ask my guru about the cosmic manifestation, he doesn't answer that question. He just doesn't answer it. I think it's too complicated. It takes too long. I mean, not that he doesn't answer it. It's just that I can't imagine infinite space within which all of this came about, right? It just seems, it's so vast, I can't contemplate it, and I can't even contemplate the size of the spirit, you know, the spiritual world. If this is 1/4 of Krishna's total creation, I just, it's mind-boggling. So
it's not.
I'm not even going to try.
Yeah. But it is not possible. That's what, like, you know, with our own endeavor and intelligence, it is not possible for us to understand. But like fixing the mind, that's what he's actually giving us, the process that we need to follow, is to fix the mind at the lotus feet of the Lord. And that's what we are actually, Srila Prabhupada has exactly given us this process, that, you know, chant with that mode of surrendering yourself. Like, Krishna, you're my only shelter. And only through that process that eventually we can actually slowly by slowly Krishna may choose to reveal you know, his place of residence, his pastimes, his name, his glories, and it's the only process by which we eventually will get to it. So yeah, otherwise there is no other way.
There's no other way. Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mataji. Very beautiful class.
Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you, Premarasa, for the class, and I appreciated the part where Srila Prabhupada was describing that, you know, in reciprocation to the devotee's service, the Lord smiles. And when the Lord smiles, the devotees become more excited, and when he sees their reciprocation, the Lord becomes even more beautiful. So I think that reciprocation from the Lord is what every soul is looking for. But instead of knowing that that is what will completely satisfy us, like we get so distracted with so many other things. Even as devotees, what to speak of non-devotees, they're always distracted, but they don't even know. But
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah, thank you for highlighting that point. Yeah. When I was reading that, I was somehow remembering Kishore. No, he is like that. Like, his smile is really very captivating. I think those who come, actually, there was this girl who we met last year on an MSF. So we met her on the train, and so very briefly, like very very briefly, I think she either got down at the next stop or the stop after that, something like that. Like it was just like 1 or 2 stops, but she actually heard the holy name because we were singing on the train, and then she got a Mahamantra card and a book. And then just by herself, she came to the temple for a Sunday feast. And then I think she came for 2 consecutive Sunday feasts, but then eventually she stopped coming. Then recently I actually saw her contact again, and I thought maybe let me just see if she liked to come to just meet and talk. So I texted her, and then immediately she responded back, and then she said that I'll look into my schedule and I'll let you know. And that's exactly what I felt, that devotees who even they didn't know who Krishna is, even they didn't know who Kishori, just by looking at them once, somehow they come back. Like even if it's not immediately, like years later or lifetimes later, that beautiful, that enchanting smile where actually brings them back. So I was feeling like, I mean, at least I was remembering that when I was reading this today. That it's very, like very 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 captivating. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, anyone else who would like to share anything? Okay, so then we can end here, and we'll continue with the next set of verses tomorrow. Thank you all very much for joining. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Ki jai.
Ki jai.
Jai.